Welcome back to Up the Villa. If you are new around here, make sure you are subscribing. We are less than 20 away from 20,000. We can hit that number today. So make sure you are subscribing if you are new. You could be the 20,000th subscriber to Up the Villa. What an honour that would be for you. Right, so make sure you're smashing the like button and get involved in the comment section down below. Right, we're chatting Duran today. That is what is on the agenda, because what I'm reading, what I'm seeing is that West Ham have moved away from Jhon Duran. They are looking at different striker options. Now, what that could be is it could be them just having Duran in the background, and they're doing a little bit of chat with other players, finding out what their options are, maybe potentially seeing who's available, what the money's like, etc. And then knowing that they can go back to Duran if they want to do that negotiation deal. It may also be that they are trying to dislodge Villa with our valuation, and if they look to be seen that they're going for someone else, and Villa get twitchy and think, no, we want you to buy Duran now, which I don't think is going to happen, because I think what Villa have done and what Monchi's doing and how Monchi's operating is he's being firm with Villa and he's firm with his valuations. Jhon Duran's 20 years of age. His market value, which we think is around 40 million, that's not going to diminish in the next year or so. So from a Villa standpoint, we've got the valuation. We want it to be met. If you want him, you pay it. If you don't pay it, you're not getting him. And I think that's where we are at. The bad thing for us is the sense of if nobody does buy him, then he's back at Villa. And that is to me possibly the worst part about it. Now I'm thinking, and I heard John McGinn's interview yesterday, and they're on a flight home on Sunday. And what I think's happening is I think all of the players that have been at the Euros late on in the finals, Copa America, I think they are returning next week. So Jhon Duran returns next week. And I've just got this image in my head that he goes up to the doors at Bodymore and they're shut and they're not open, and he can't get in. So that's the image that I've got in my head, that he can't get in. But I think it's a bit of a mess, but I don't think it's a mess on Villa's part. I don't think it's a mess what we've done. I think we're just being professional, and we're going about our business. We are setting a fee. You've got to pay it. Look, the player believes in his ability. So if he believes in his ability and Villa have got a fee for him, then the two work hand in hand, don't they? You know, Villa aren't just going to put a lower fee just because we want to get rid of him, because we've already seen the financial implications in the Premier League with PSR. So we're not going to sort of lowball us and sell a player for really cheap when we know that every pound is important. So I think Villa are going about things the right way. The player is completely going about things the wrong way. And I look at the Moussa Diaby situation, and it felt like early on when there was the noise of Saudi and it started to get a little bit louder, I found it a bit difficult to understand Diaby leaving at first. But while those negotiations and while that early noise was going on, Diaby was still at Villa training, and Diaby was just remaining professional. He was doing his training. You heard no agent stuff. You know, even if he was unhappy last season, you didn't hear any of that from his agent. And as that move progressed, you didn't see him in the training videos. Villa had obviously said, look, you can go and negotiate with this team. It was all done very professional, very quiet, just went about the business, and it ended up being done. Now, the problem that we've had with Jhon Duran and on the player side of Jhon Duran is that from last January, he wanted to leave because there was the rumours and links with Chelsea. Then we saw the embrace with Pochettino on the bench, which is a bit weird. Like, those two people have never really had any interaction before, and it was just weird that they had that so that already showed that there was that chat there. Then Duran starts doing his little twerking and starts liking all of Chelsea's tweets, and then the negotiations start early in this window. So all of that sort of player looking like he wants to go has already started. And then they start negotiating. Then you start, there was the last rumour of Duran to Chelsea, and it was they were doing background checks or they were doing personality checks or something. And then it just went quiet. There was nothing else on Chelsea. So then you don't hear much. And then we start hearing that the agent starts talking while he's at the Copa America. And then the West Ham stuff starts coming in. We then start doing this on Instagram. It's just weird. Like, it's so weird in the sense of, mate, we get that you want to leave. We get it. But just remain professional. Go about your business. And then there's no drama. But it just feels like there's so much drama surrounding the whole thing. And it's all come from the player side, which has made it a big problem, because I imagine the relationship with Duran and Duran's agent with Villa's hierarchy, I imagine that's not great because, you know, and for me as a fan, you know, be respectful. Be respectful for the club and be respectful for the fans. It's one thing you thinking you can play somewhere else or you not being happy, but you've still got to remain professional to the fans. Like, that's the worst part for me. And doing all of this business on Instagram is just not great, really. So I think the position that we're in there now is, I think it's going to be very difficult to maybe integrating back in the squad. Maybe I think we already heard that McGinn's thoughts on it, and you know, we're building up to a big season, and the last thing that we want is Jhon Duran's drama or Jhon Duran's attitude, or he just the way he's around the team, the way he's around training. I just think we just don't want it. We don't need it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, he might not turn up. So, you know, but I think that side of it is a bit of a mess. But I think at the end of the day, if no one's paying what we think he's worth, then he's obviously going to stay. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. It's really frustrating, and it's something that we don't need. But it's all come from the player, hasn't it, really? You know, there's nothing really more to say from a Villa side of things. It's like he just needs to control his emotions and just be more professional. And I think that's probably the worst part about him, really. It's the professionalism, and you see it across absolutely every area of his game, really. You know, his arms are up in games. He's frustrated. He's not arguing, but he's like attitude with players on the pitch. And I've said it from day one, he don't come out with his bib at half time either. That shows to me that there's a lack of application, and it's only so minor, but it's true. Like, everybody else comes out with their bib, they're prepared to go at half time, and that just shows what he's like. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But while we're here anyway, we've got Nicholas Füllkrug, Borussia Dortmund striker, emerges as West Ham's target after Jhon Duran deal stalls. The other aspect of this as well is that Orford is about to sign a new contract with West Ham. So West Ham's last bid for Duran included Orford. Now, he's about to sign a new deal. So the bid that would be on the table that we rejected with an improved bid now isn't on that table. So do they go in with Villa with more money? I'd imagine that they're not going to do that. So, yeah, so West Ham look like they're looking at different targets. They're looking at Brobbey as well from Ajax. I know he's been a player that has been doing the rounds for them, and they've been looking at all window as well. Another little interesting one. We've got Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid. Now, in my head, how my head has worked and how my head has seen this, Atletico Madrid are spending 30 to 35 million pounds on a player. Now, where could they be getting that type of money from? I don't know. I don't know. But they seem to be spending some money. So, mate, they've probably got money to spend, but who knows? But what this also shows me is surely we weren't in for Conor Gallagher, because at the price that's been estimated, 35 to 40, we could have afforded that. And he would have had a big opportunity to play in the Champions League and stay in the Premier League. So these negotiations seem like they're hotting up as well. So that would show that we chose Onana over Gallagher anyway. And then finally, Fabrizio squashed our dreams yesterday of Maximilian Bayer. He's not part of Villa's plans, but read the bottom line. João Felix remains Unai Emery's dream signing. Feels like this is going on and dragging on, and it's going to drag on further, but I still think it's going to happen. I still think it's going to happen, but it's a patience, waiting game that feels like we're just going to have to stick it out and wait and see what happens. Oh, and I've got another player that we're going to talk about. Mateta. Now, to be fair, I will say one thing. I've watched a lot of Palace over the last few years, and I always felt like Mateta should be performing better than what he was. And I looked at him and thought, you should be scoring some goals here. He just looked devoid of any confidence whatsoever. And then Glasner comes in and really gets him playing and gets him scoring and finding the back of the net. But I think what Palace had towards the end of the season, and what I think people have got to be a little bit careful of, is, and I do think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be a good team, but I don't think they're going to be as good as what they were at the end of last season. I think what the end of last season was a culmination of a new manager coming in, players being fit, being safe from relegation-ish, and a little bit of a vibe. They were a little bit vibey, weren't they? They'd got Eze, they've got Elise, they've got Mateta in form, they've got Munoz, they've got a nice little vibe about them. And I think sometimes towards the end of the season, when certain teams are safe, there's a little bit of an upshifting form. So I think it was partly to do with that with Palace. And I think a lot of people might look at that and think, oh, Palace, they're going to be right up there next season. I'm not too sure, because Elise leaving is a big player. And what's happening with Mateta. But what I think this was is I think Mateta is not signing a new deal, is he? They're putting names out there, so the negotiations go a bit better. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mateta signs a new deal. But my thoughts on Mateta to Aston Villa, no, not for me. Not for me. Not for me at all. I think the profile is a classic striker profile, you know, strong, hold up. But I think how we play, we're after something a little bit different. And what I mean by that is, because we play a lot of possession-based football, we come up against a lot of low and mid blocks. And I think Mateta's style would hinder that a little bit. I think we need those unlockers, those runners behind, those pace, those intricate players that have got that movement. And I don't think Mateta's got it. I think he would slow it down for Villa. So for me, I'm not a fan of Mateta. I do think he's good, but I'm just like, we need more. So basically, I wanted to come on today and talk about Duran, because he's the imminent arrival of Duran back at Villa. He's getting closer and closer. So he's going to be back at some capacity. West Ham look like they're doing bits around looking at other players. So that's something to keep an eye on. Felix, still a dream target. Can we get that done? Thanks, everyone who watched the episode yesterday. A lot of you really, really enjoyed it. You enjoyed the sort of how I showcased it, which was quite good. A lot of nice comments on there as well. So thank you. 20K, close to that. And we will be live tonight for the watch along at 12:45. That feels a long way away from when I've recorded this. But we will be there. So we will have McGinn back, Tielemans back. Hopefully Ramsey plays. So it's going to be interesting. So cheers, everyone. Up the Villa.